Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Sky Factory, and I've got lots to tell you about right now, but I'm very happy because there are no derpy eyes on my face. I can't take myself seriously when I've got those derpy eyes, and it feels like all the time when I record we have them. But hey, there's been a lot going on the server. The first thing I should tell you is that the pack has been updated. Oh yes it has, and we're going to investigate. Well, at least I am. There might be something interesting to talk about there. In fact, there is one thing we can talk about already. But with the pack being updated, some things might have changed. So I need to look around and think about what sort of stuff might have happened. But one thing I wanted to do today was build two platforms. This one is currently unfinished, and this one over here is almost finished. But if we listen carefully... Yeah, I've made a big mistake, right? I forgot to light up the area underneath, so I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with that. Well, actually I am. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make some holes like this so that the sunlight from above can go into the room. Then I'll fly away, the mobs will despawn, and when I come back there'll be less of them down there, which will be pretty cool. By the way, this wood is absolutely ugly, isn't it? I mean, I was just trying to find another wood type to use, and we've used this one over here because that one that I built was kind of like the same as this one, and so I thought the four of them could match. They could all have the same wood log pattern but with a different piece of wood, right? Thing is, I've been looking for different types of saplings that aren't from vanilla, and a lot, I tell you, of these ones right here, these Natura ones, just refuse to grow. If any of you know why they wouldn't, I've been using bone meal, I've been twerking, I've been trying dirt, fertilized dirt, not having any luck with any of these. Willow, tigerwood, eucalyptus, I've tried most of those ones. So I ended up going with one of the ones from the Nether, and I think for the other one we're going to end up using a vanilla texture, you know, and that's what I'm going to do in a moment. I'm going to build that other platform, but before we do so, one of the things that updating the pack has kind of nerfed is our farm over here, which was providing us with an insane amount of redstone, and that is mature and it hasn't been harvested by this machine. Interesting. Same for this over here. Why is that? The output is full. Aha, does this mean that something's gone wrong? Hey, I'm not actually sure what's going on at all there. Well, anyway, what I was trying to show you is that the growth here is now very, very slow, and it's because this block down here has changed. If we pop down below, you can see the texture is different. This is the growth crystal tier 2. In fact, I didn't want to break that block, but I'll break this one. There we go. It's very quick. And there it is. So there's now a tier 3 as well, but this thing has been massively nerfed. If we type in growth, we can see tier 1, tier 2, the textures have changed, and tier 3 over here requires a dragon egg. And I don't want to go into the nether. The nether. I don't want to go to the end and get another one of these, but in order to get another one, you actually need to craft it, and that requires killing the wither, which we haven't done yet, and I want to do that with Ren. So that's something to look forward to us doing, is upgrading that farm, fighting some withers. I want to make an automated wither farm later on, that's for sure. It seems that derping in this game is just unavoidable sometimes, and I've got a feeling that perhaps these ones were never actually being harvested. The range might just be 3 blocks on each side, as these ones are always being harvested, and on this side it turns out we just needed to configure this thing to push the items into the dimensional transceiver above of it. So if we go over here and check out the amount of obsidian and redstone in the system, we can see redstone has 64,000, but obsidian has 1,000, and I was wondering to myself, why has this thing stopped at around 1,000, yet the redstone produced so much more? And now we've learned it's because this thing was never configured properly, and this farm was probably never actually running, right? How derpy. How silly and how derpy, and now we've got some unwanted guests. Oh, look at the little sheep guy. Oh, he's so cute and adorable. There it is, our next platform, and I gotta say, I really like that one. And from a distance, this one ain't too bad, but when you get close to it, that wood is just disgusting. But yes, the orange one is nicer, and what I'd like to do now is put some more of these steel fences around the outside. In fact, we probably shouldn't focus on just steel. We should use multiple materials here, because basically this cobblestone is ugly, and it needs to go, and we need to get rid of those janky torches as well. Now, when it comes to automating steel production, which is what we want to do with everything in Sky Factory, right? That's kind of the point, automate things. We have a broken system over here with the sag mill that just doesn't want to work, so I was thinking to myself, if I break this, we're going to stop the things on either side working. This one to the right of me, by the way, is stone, which it kind of looked like it was doing a moment ago, and that's because we've been using lots of it to build the platform. So if I add an importer there, that's good to see. Yep, there you go, you can see it's the stone. This thing connects to either side. Now it does mean you'll sort of be able to see into the system here, but it's always going to end up being imperfect. So this is an importer. If we set that thing to import coal, I'm wondering if it will get a signal from this up above. Right, so that's already been configured. Let's pinch... Oh, I'm not in range. So we have 40,000 coal, so this is never going to be a problem really. We'd like to import that coal, and it should do it automatically, right? Except no, it wouldn't, because it's locked by this block as it's putting out a signal. So now we need to change that to be the other way around. So when it goes above that amount of silicon, then it's going to output a signal. And yet, nothing is happening. Importer. I've done it again, peeps. I've done it again. We need an exporter. I always get them the wrong way around. Oh. Yay! There we go. We're finally getting some coal powder out of this thing. And I reversed the logic, by the way, so it stays the same as normal. So that's how it was. And then this thing, I've just activated it here, so it only works with a redstone signal. Well, I was getting a little carried away with myself there and realised this isn't going to work. We're doing very simple stuff over here. We're basically using the alloy smelter like it's a furnace. So we've got glass on one side and stone on the other. When it comes to these machines, they just don't want to work. You can see they're emitting a redstone signal. These are set to auto craft when triggered. And there we've got the electric steel. That's the one, yep. I was actually supposed to make steel, wasn't I? And I've gotten distracted and done all the Ender IO stuff here. I'm doing the wrong stuff, actually. Anyway, I made up all of these patterns, but they don't work. The machines just don't want to know. And always active. I mean, I really don't know what to do about this. So when it comes to problem solving, this thing right here, the crafting monitor, is going to be extremely useful. I was chatting to my buddy Iskau about what was going wrong with our system, and he said, you know, straight away, just look in the crafting monitor, and it told me that we didn't have the materials required. It turns out that I thought I was making silicon, but I wasn't. I didn't have any in the system, which is why that one there didn't work, and now the setup is working just fine. So over here we're making absolutely tons of silicon, and I believe whatever these were making, we've now got 128 of each of those. In fact, you can see all of the different ingots that we're creating over here, with exception to gold, in my inventory. So these ones are all still running. There you go. And the whole system kind of works now. I don't think there's anything interesting to point out because I've explained everything at this point. I do remember though, I think in the previous episode talking about getting some lag due to the power running down, and I've just been building this up again since I forgot about that, and I haven't run into an issue again, so maybe that was never actually the issue. So yeah, you know, all of these alloys are now being made over here. This thing is working just fine. And I also put capacitors into the system on the auto crafting thing as well. That one was slowly ticking up. So if we go look at that, yeah, it's slowly creating the tier 3 ones, and it will end up making a stack of each of those. But it is currently relying on these alloys over here on the side. So these are just being made and then instantly getting sucked up and turned into capacitors at the moment. So I'm expecting for all of this to kind of shut down after a while once we stock up on those materials. I just stumbled into a problem that we need to fix that is also cute and adorable. Ah, look at them. Look at them hanging out. So they're obviously some of the little mini zombies with skins on, and then they've picked up the skulls of some of the mobs that have fallen down and just decided to hang out right there. There's a trio in that space, a few more in that one, and a couple over here as well. Those ones are really dark. Why would it be darker there and not over here? Light is actually getting into our farm over on this side, isn't it? And how is it getting in there? Where is it getting in from? Is it underneath? Nope, it's all sealed up. Huh. It's getting in there somehow, isn't it? There is like a thing, and it is like right there. But on the other side, can you see it? A little glob of something or other? I don't know what that is or how it got in there. It's just kind of occurred to me that I haven't really talked about the focus of today's episode, and it's going to be revising this middle platform, or refurbishing it. There's many words that you could use, and a few other platforms will get treated as well. In fact, I think I did say this. I talked about how the cobblestone and torches were kind of ugly. And also, we've just thrown a few things down around here, and underneath in the basement, there's also a lot of stuff that's just sort of been thrown into a space. And what I'd like to do is organise some of this stuff and move it upstairs and leave the basement for all the janky cables. So, a lot of what you're seeing here is going to move or go, like the Tinkers will go, for example. That will have its own platform eventually. But right now, I was just looking at revising the fences around the back. And this is a fence from a mod called sonar core, and apparently I can just punch it to break it, which is fascinating. You can see that it doesn't connect together, and it's made with something called reinforced stone. So I made a bunch of this, but then it turned out to not be very useful. And I don't want to use steel on everything, because steel actually works, and now we're automating the creation of it, which is why I got dragged over there, I think. I don't want to use this on every platform, but it does look really good, and there's not a lot of alternatives. And also that looks really nice with a lantern on it, so we're going to put a lantern here and there as well. If we go and type fence into here, you can see the options of vanilla wood, or basically aluminium, treated wood and steel, which is from Immersed Engineering, so we can probably rely on those working. And then you have these ones which are from the Sonar Core mod, so I'm going to guess that they don't work. We can also type in wall, and I'm going to be frank, these ones right here I think are pretty ugly textures, so there really isn't very much to work with at all, and it's quite likely that everything's going to end up being steel. This is the block right here that's going to emit light. I've made a painter from Ender.io, and this is a chisel block that's been painted from glowstone, and I'm just putting that in here because we're going to ditch the brown in the middle now. I think it's time to move away from the wooden theme. I've thrown down some steel slabs up the top here, and I found out that those reinforced stone blocks would connect to other ones, just not to themselves. So it kind of looks like a little bit of support for what's going on here. And what we'll do is remove this and replace it with something that's been painted like this as well. So there's some consistency. And eventually we'll start storing items with this, but I'm not sure how I want to do that, if I want to keep these big drawers or not. So for now, that's going to stay. But the next thing we're going to do, wait for it, bam, is, yeah, change out the floor. And I've kind of gotten rid of those ender cakes, haven't I? Wow, that is looking pretty cool. And guess what? This is glowstone again. It's the painted texture, and even though it's a connected texture, it still works when it's painted. I love that. And I'm starting to think now that maybe even the stone bricks are going to have to go, because they don't really match this stuff, whereas these two really complement each other. And actually, that looks really good with this darker steel backdrop as well. So the restoration of this main platform is coming along really well. The stone bricks have been replaced with this iron, which I think maybe was a little bit too much or a little bit too aggressive. And actually there was another material that I wanted to try and replace it with. But let's talk about what's going on over here while I quickly jingle into my ender pouch and grab a swapping wand. That's what we're going to use to swap this material over. But yes, what's going on over here? There's a wall of crafters, and they're sort of arranged in different directions, and that's just to break the monotony of them all being in the same spot together. On the back here, there's a load of item conduits from Ender.io, and another thing that I've forgotten to do is to grab our conduit probe, right? In fact, there's no... hang on, probe, let's type that in. Oh, I know where it is. Yeah, there it is. This thing is for copying the settings. Do you know what? I'm not going to do it on camera, but I need to set them all to insert, which will be very straightforward and easy. And then we're going to set this one here to extract, and we're going to put that on round robin mode. I've just realized that usually this is set to the redstone one like that by default, but because we've updated the pack, it seems nether active is its default setting, which makes a lot of sense. Now that block is not going to be visible. The reason that it's in the position it is just because there's a little bit of space there, right? So imagine that we got a couple of blocks over here. This is going to be like a workbench on this side now. So we've got our crafting monitors, we've got the pattern grid, the crafting grid, disk drives, and then where we've got all those other things down below, we're actually going to throw them on top in a row. So things like the anvils and the little cow and the milk and the enchanter, they can go over here, as well as this thing, our achievement stand, although I'm not sure how I'm going to arrange them, but the idea is that then they're neatly arranged in one place together and stuff doesn't look very janky. Now because that ender chest is out of sight, we'll also have one in the middle over here. I know it seems a little bit like crazy to send it from there to over there, but if this was somewhere else, you know, off in the distance, it would serve the same purpose really well. Whenever you're using a pattern grid and you make a pattern, I've got one in my inventory for this reinforced stone, what you do is you chuck it into the ender chest here, and then this thing will fish it out and find a crafter for it to go into. So every time we come across something we want to craft, if it isn't already in the system and can't be automated, we just do it as a pattern and then it can be automated, and slowly we would build up loads and loads of recipes to make crafting things a lot quicker overall. In fact, it makes more sense to put this one directly above the pattern grid as sort of a reminder there. you know? And yeah, this is going to expand a little bit as we go along here. But anyway, let's try out the swapping one. So the material we want to do is that one. We would like to do a largest section of it. 7 by 7, is that the biggest, or is that, yeah, it's 7 by 7. Okay, and then we've got loads of these blocks, so let's just do a big old bump like that. Do you know what? I think I like that, but it just might be too bright compared to what's around it. Yeah, that's the vibe I'm getting. Nice texture, but unfortunately, it's a bit too much, isn't it? I'll swap it all back. So here's where we're at now. Decided to move the heart of the system up the top here, and these things will probably get shuffled and rearranged as we go along. Now I just found something in a chest down here, which I'm going to assume we got from a loot bag, and I've previously seen quite a lot of these when playing other mod packs, and only just sort of noticed what it is. So this thing describes itself as a premium hungry wonder capacitor, and it says increases energy storage and speed range of machines. So I used to find a lot of these playing modded and just realised, hang on a minute, this is supposed to go there, right? Yeah, except it doesn't use more power. I had a feeling we might see something instant here. How about we grab a couple of pieces of glowstone? I guess I'm going to have to look up there. There we go, there's the grid. We'll chuck a few pieces of glowstone in, just half a stack, and see how quickly it goes through. That's... I wouldn't know if it's much faster than this one, but it's not slower, so it probably is actually a little bit faster. So that's what those things do. Right. Say goodbye to Tinkers. It's gone, and in its place is Ender.io. Now, I was thinking about setting up an Ender.io platform somewhere where we could go across and use a couple of machines like this. But then it kind of occurred to me that that would be a pain in the butt. You want everything in the same place, right? So now we've got the terminal for all of this stuff on this side, and over here I'm putting together some Ender.io machines. So we've got a power monitor, which is quite honestly going to be useful, but it fills up the space. Over here we've got our painting machine. You should recognize all these machines. You can see them up above as well. So what we got going on here, by the way, is a tank that stores the liquid XP. Not only because it looks very cool in the middle there, but because we'd be able to access it with a bucket if ever we needed to. So this thing pulls from our ender tank and pushes down into this thing. So when that's full up, it just means that all of the XP stays in here, and that is a lot of XP right there. Also got a decoration block on the back here, and it's the first time that I've used that. And the way that we're going to power this stuff, and I haven't been prepared here, let's go and grab some conduits. We want maybe the item, yeah, we do want the item ones and the energy ones as well. So where the power is going to come from, I'm not sure, but there is a gap down below. Notice how these blocks go across like that. Same on this side over here. That's because we've got a gap down below. And oh yeah, another thing that I've done is I've made the bottom down here like the top, and I think we're left with the walls to fix up. I want to get rid of the spruce and change that over, but this place is a lot nicer now, I think, because it's still a bit janky, but that's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be where we come down to use everything. So check it out, we've got a wireless charger over here, so wherever our power source is going to be, we're going to run this across here, and it will reach all of the different machines that we're using. I am just wondering if I should perhaps put that one block above. Instead of using the decoration block, you could see this. That might be a little bit more interesting. But anyway, because it's Ender.io, we can throw in a load of these conduits as well, and that'll be able to suck out the items that we're using. So, is that thing... Yeah, it doesn't need one in the middle, but we want to connect it up, because what we'll do is we'll have a crate down here that the items get sent into, and then a importer to take it into the refined storage system, which might be a little bit of a pain, but I think it will be quite convenient. If you need something that the system doesn't have, and considering we're automating a lot of stuff from this mod, you're probably never going to use the alloy smelter, but you can chuck the things that you need quickly into here, and it automatically goes into here for you to craft it or use it. So I think all of that is pretty reasonable. And there's one more thing I want to show you, which is this RF gauge right here. You can put this on the side of a block if you shift click when you place it, and it adds a little gauge meter like that, which is really cool. I think it is actually taking up this block space here though, and that'll show you the power that's inside the machine, which I think is really cool. I might just leave that there actually, because we'll notice that when we walk past it. So the items here are configured, very simple stuff that I don't really need to show you. Haven't got power sorted out yet, and I needed a flux plug to do that. So I've set up some more automation over here. We're now automatically creating flux, which is pretty cool, and we can store a large stash of that as well. But now what I've gone and done is made all of the recipes for the flux plugs that can send and receive energy. So this is how we would treat things all the time in the future. Rather than going through and crafting them each time, we then chuck these in here. They find their way into these crafters, which by the way have all been upgraded with speed upgrades. And because we're using round robin, by the way, it means they all sort of get spread about. So the idea is that you don't want that one in the same one as the other parts of the recipe, as it will slow the whole process down. So in theory, now we can come over here and type in this. Send energy, let's take 2 of those, although I don't actually need any. There you go, it's making it. And then receive energy, let's take a few of those, although I only need 1. And it crafts it really quickly, actually. That's awesome. Okay, we have a little bit of a problem. You can see that the power is being sucked out of the system here, and that's because it's being sucked up and put into these machines. So it's going to be very laggy here until these fill up all the way to the top, but it shows you that we're very much throttling the amount of power that we have, although that thing's stopped. Maybe some of these have like a smaller capacity. There you go, so that one filled up straight away, and now this is okay again. So I just looked up the lava generators over here, as you would do, and the second one is missing. Now when I went through the process of moving all of the patterns from down there over to here, there was one that corrupted, and I believe it's this one because they've changed the recipe. Now the third one requires dragon's breath, but the second one required you to get a soul vial with an enderman in it and make a crystal from that, whereas now it's made like this. So I think that means it might be quite easy for us to make a lot of these. I'm really not sure. We're going to put in those 2 recipes into the system. They'll now be ready to be auto-craft, and then I want to look up how much dragon's breath we've got. 20 in total, and we just need 1 for each of the last things, right? So how much stuff does this cost? Do you know what? I think we can make a lot of these quite easily now because it just became considerably cheaper. So if we type in lava and click on that was the first one. Let's click on the third one. Let's say we wanted to make, well, we don't need 10, but let's say 8, I think, or maybe 7. No, we got 3 over there. Let's go for 6. Wow, can't make up my mind. Right, so we're only missing a few bits of that and a lot of electrum. Okay, now electrum can be made in our system automatically, and this stuff just needs a recipe. So we should be able to make all of those lava generators as well. That's awesome. There it is. We're automating the electrum. For now, I've set this thing to 2000, so we get more than enough. And then when we're done making all of that, I'll probably set it a little bit lower. Haven't added the recipe for the other thing just yet. Wanted to show you this though. I've now swapped all of these drawers over, and instead of having the 4x4 ones, I've gone for, or sorry, 2x2, I've gone for 1x2. But I'm still not ready to put items into here. I'm not sure how we're going to do that because I don't want them to end up being a big jumble, but that's been taken care of. And look at this. Even though we don't have enough electrum, it knows it can use our automated system to make it as well. I never thought of that, so I don't actually need to set the bar so high over here. I can just set it to a reasonable 256, but because it needs it for crafting, it won't look at the reserves. It also knows it can use this machine, which is really cool. So it's going to make those lava generators now. It'll probably take a long time, but the whole process is going to be automated. Look at this, just look at this. We are soaking up a load of juice. 22,000 RF per tick. I believe somewhere in the book there is an achievement for making 1,000 RF per tick, then 10,000. We can probably tick those off, but I'll do those with Ren, of course. And that number is actually slowly drifting down. I'm not 100% sure why, but these are vibrant capacitor banks, so the overall amount we can store and the bandwidth has been massively increased, and that's because all of these things have been put in place, and I believe all of them, well, they were full up with lava a moment ago. I guess it kind of makes sense that they're not now. In fact, that's why the RF per tick was dropping, because, yes, the capacitor bank down below is sucking out every little bit. Now, I reckon if we were to add more of these ender tanks, then it would distribute the lava more. So that's something that we're going to do. But heading back over to this main island, I've replaced the wood that was around the outside with a few extra blocks. In fact, I think that would look a lot nicer if we just changed the ones over on the edges here like that. Yep, that does. I'll go around and do that. And also, I wanted to show you something really, really cool, which was to do with connected textures and glowstone. So this right here is a painted glowstone block, and it's next to a regular block of iron. So those work together, which is really cool, because when I was making this bottom area, kind of noticed that it's a little bit dark and gloomy in the middle. So that is a really awesome feature right there. Wow, look at that. These things have actually been emptied, and now these things over here, well, some of them are full. At least the one on the end is. The other ones are struggling, actually. In theory, that would bring it in a lot faster, but I think the problem might now be that there's like a channel bandwidth, so we can only push so much into these ender tanks at a time, which might means we want like 5 different, or at least each one of these to have a different channel in which to send it through. I'm going to see how that behaves, so that's probably something we'll do another time, because that is going to be it from me this episode of Sky Factory. If you have enjoyed it and you like the derpy eyes, then leave a like on the video. As always, thank you so much for the support, and I will see you in the next solo episode of Sky Factory. Ciao for now, bye bye.